Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, Money Making Mamas. Nancy Wallace Labs here. And I really felt compelled to make this video today because in my email, I get, as a realtor, I get emails from Realtor.com. So they actually had an article that came out today and it's called, Is Now Still a Good Time to Invest? And just a little bit ago, I did a kind of a similar video, but I thought I would just do a little take on this about what I felt like, in my opinion, Realtor.com got right, and what I feel like they missed. So come along with me and let's analyze the article. So this article came out on October 22nd, and it was titled, Is Buying an Investment Property Worth It Right Now? Here's where investors are getting ahead. And it was in Realtor.com. And here is what I think they got right, and here is what I think some things that they missed. So how real estate investing still works, when you know, where, when, and how, right? I mean, so it's all about, the strategy that you're going to be using to invest in real estate. So I'm going to go ahead and pop off my glasses here. So when you see headlines saying it's getting harder for investors to find good deals, it can make you feel like that you missed out, that the opportunity is gone. So we work with a lot of moms, both younger moms because of Money Making Mamas, and my daughter Kelsey and I. So she's a mom with two young children. And then we have moms that are closer to my age, that the family has grown up. The mom, maybe she's looking for, supplemental income, maybe divorced, widowed. So we have two sets of different moms. So not that dads, not that men can't get info from us as well, but that is kind of our niche. So, but sometimes us women, we take it all in, right? We take it in. So the first thing, as a woman, I might say, oh my gosh, I'm doubting myself, that I wish I had started sooner. We talk to so many people. I have been talking to the same people for years about, well, maybe they should start investing in real estate. And, for whatever reason, they're just holding back. So when you see articles like that kind of reinforces like, oh my gosh, I'm missing out. You get the FOMO that you're missing out on making money, right? Oh, okay, did it pass me by? Back in 2008 when the market crashed and investors were buying properties and things like that, that was a really good time to purchase properties, and people who did, made a lot of money. And then, there's anxiety about, well, I'll never get ahead. I'll never get the opportunity because it's just so hard to be an investor. And then fear, just that overwhelming, what I'm talking about, the gut-wrenching fear in your stomach that says, will this ever be a good time? When will it be a good time? So, but here's the truth, right? Opportunities don't disappear, right? They just change. They just move. And so what I'm going to show you today is how to read these headlines differently, have a different mindset, the way empowered moms do and smart investors do. So it's not doom and gloom. There's just other ways to make money when the market shifts. So what does the article kind of point out? So if you haven't read it, it says that deals are tougher to get because rates are higher and costs are up. And both of those things are true, right? Now, if you're trying to buy off of the MLS, the multiple listing service, yeah, you're going to pay more for everything. But what we teach is how to find off-market deals. So that is really the key to true real estate investing. You're not buying retail properties. You're buying properties that you're getting at a discount. You make your money on the buy. So savvy investors are focusing on cash flow and control, which, yes, that is true. And that they're saying that the best deals right now are in the Midwest and South. Okay, that is true as well, where they offer affordability and strong rental demand. So I'm in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and there are pockets, like in my own backyard, that it's very difficult to find a good real estate deal. But if I look in other areas that are maybe like, a half an hour, 45 minutes, up to 2 hours away from where I live, I can still find deals all day long. And then short-term rentals are still in play. Okay, there has been a shift there because just a few years ago, they were hot, people were buying them, and now it's kind of oversaturated. But the other thing is that regulations keep changing, they keep evolving. So just when you're going to get into that market, you just have to do a little bit more due diligence. And that is always changing too. So So this is what I do agree with in the Realtor.com, that today's market requires strategy, not luck, that cash flow and cost control should be at the center of every decision, and that affordable markets, Midwest and South, offer opportunities for families starting out. And that is true. But we've been preaching this since day one. Buy smart, manage well, and plan long term. And there is a way to find properties in any market that are below retail prices, right? You just have to be able to know where they are, where to look, where to market to. So I just did a webinar last night, and it was all about marketing for real estate investing. So if you didn't catch that, it's on the foreclosuresdaily.com YouTube channel. And I talk about simple marketing techniques that real estate investors can use to find off-market deals. So the first place is you need a lead generation source. So I'm kind of digressing here about the marketing, but this is what I challenge in the Realtor.com, that success isn't limited to certain states or price points, because I can work with just about anybody in the continental U.S., and we can locate via our heat maps and our hot zone and opportunity zones where you can invest in real estate. You can build wealth in any market if you just understand what the numbers and strategies should be. So sometimes if you're buying properties, let's say you're kind of doing an owner finance situation, or you found a property and maybe it's going to be a little bit more, but it's in a hot appreciating area. I'm not talking about speculation here, but I'm just saying that there's ways to analyze any market to find good deals. And the focus shouldn't just be on competition, meaning, okay, the competition of Kansas versus Texas, or Illinois versus, Florida, those kinds of things. So, but all along, Money Making Mamas, myself and my daughter Kelsey, we teach moms how to build networks, not just deals, so that you can partner and make money in real estate. So what we want to talk about is more of a mindset shift when we read headlines that kind of engage fear in us. And this could be for anything, right? I mean, because sometimes there's just a lot of negative news out there. And sometimes we have to reframe our thinking on how we're going to react to it. So number one, these articles grab attention. And remember, their job is to sell, right? What are they selling? They're marketing, right? And it doesn't define what your future is. So it doesn't mean that because the article talks about it's just harder to be a real estate investor, doesn't mean that you cannot be a real estate investor, right? So it doesn't define what your future is going to look like, or if you're going to be a successful real estate investor. It's just a headline with some information. So the question isn't, is it still a good time to invest? It's, how can I invest wisely where I'm at today, right? Today. We don't speculate, like we don't look at, okay, 30, 60, 90, 1 year, 2 years down the road, unless we're looking at appreciating areas. But we're not even doing speculation, is that we're guessing, we're hoping, right? We base our investing decisions on data, right? And it has to support, we're going to make money either in appreciation or when we buy it right, that kind of thing. So if you don't live in Missouri or South Carolina, hey, that's okay. I don't either. I live in Texas. Market data is just a compass. It's not a cage, meaning you're not having to be locked in just because you don't live in those states. Because again, I work with investors all over the place, and it is possible to be a real estate investor no matter where you live. And lead generation is really, I'm telling you, is the key. And it doesn't have to be like buying a list, although I would recommend, using, a reputable list service company. But you want to know how to find deals, how to talk to distressed sellers, how to get that property. We're talking about your negotiation skills. So in an upcoming video, I'm going to be talking about the different types of real estate investing that we teach our moms and that I consistently invest in. And one of the things is having great negotiation skills, having good communication skills, because we teach finding the off-market properties. Again, that's how you make your money. So how does Money Making Mamas train investors, our moms? So this is how we teach people. So first of all, we help them identify strong local markets, not just national headlines. Okay, so really, unless I don't even invest outside of Texas, unless you have trusted boots on the ground, it's very difficult to invest in other markets. It doesn't mean you can't, but you have to have kind of a platform so that you can do that. Now, when it comes to wholesaling and just running numbers, yes, you can do that, and I do that anywhere in the U.S. If I get a lead from a property in, Iowa, I can calculate the numbers based on the software I have, and yes, I can make an offer. Am I going to buy it for a buy and hold or short-term rental? Probably not, right? But maybe I'm going to wholesale it or do owner financing. So we get into how to analyze a deal. And one of the things I talk about is that you need to learn how to analyze a deal within about 15 minutes. Now, I'm not saying you're going to do your due diligence in 15 minutes, but when you deal with, your phone is ringing, you have properties that you want to look at. So we teach how to not get into that analysis paralysis, right? There are certain things that you can look at right away to know if this is going to be a deal or not. And it all has to do with the numbers, and we do teach that. So we also teach about how to pivot between strategies when the market shifts. For example, when I buy a property, I always want to determine at least 2 exit strategies, sometimes 3, of what I'm going to do with that property. So my go-to strategies are long-term rentals, short-term rentals, and owner finance. But let's say that I get a call or a referral from somebody and it's in an area or a price point that maybe I don't invest in. Well, then I have ways to monetize that lead. So we talk about how to monetize your leads. And when you have a long-term rental or you have a short-term rental, like what's happening right now, a lot of people are either trying to sell their short-term rental or they're turning their short-term rental into a mid-term rental or a long-term rental. So they're pivoting, right? Because the market is not supporting that investing strategy. And then looking for off-market opportunities and funding and lending is really the key of kind of what we teach people, like how to find the deal, how to find the money, how to tell if it's a deal. Now, what we want to talk about is turning your fear into fuel, right? Because it's easy to be fearful because of what we don't know. Of when we see articles like, Realtor.com is a great publication, or when we see on the news, interest rates are not coming down. So it's like, oh, well, I can't do that. Or right now the government is shut down. So people have fear around the future, right? But you can take that fear, and if you have your numbers and you have your information, it helps to, I won't say get rid of it totally, but to kind of quell the fears, trying to, kind of make it a little less fearful. So maybe you just have a tinge of fear instead of all out panic. So when markets tighten, that's when you have to be creative, right? So one big hack that we don't even talk about that much is house hack instead of renting. So maybe, if you've been living in your house, or maybe you're living in an apartment, and you are able to buy a home that you can live in it for a couple years, and then you move out, find another house, you refinance. That's called house hacking. So you live in a property, or maybe you want to flip it, to avoid the capital gains tax. You have to live there for 2 years. But there's ways to do that so that you don't even have to have any money. I mean, first-time home buyer, you can get into a property, a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, even if it's not your ideal home right now. But if you want to start investing, that's a great way to do it. You can partner on small multifamily. So we've done different syndications in commercial, not multifamily. So, but there's ways you can partner on deals if you just have a little bit of money that you want to be a passive investor, right? You can offer owner financing when the bank says no to, if you're trying to flip a house or something like that. So owner financing is a great strategy to have passive income and have like the monthly, checks rolling in. You want to focus on cash flow and equity, and not all the hype out there about, oh my gosh, the interest rates are too high, property insurance is too high. There's all kinds of ways to work around those numbers and to still make money. So real estate isn't risky when you know your plan, right? So that's the plan. It's risky when you don't have one. So for you moms that are reading this, you might be thinking to yourself, okay, well, hopefully you're reading this, right? You're not just listening to me. But one, what if my market doesn't have affordable homes? So I already said I lived in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And, affordable homes are hard to come by. But you know what? We're not talking about homes for you to live in. We're talking about homes that you can invest in, right? So even in my own backyard, now I don't typically buy homes that are like $400,000, $500,000, but we have a lot of the city that I live in is actually very short-term rental friendly, and we have a lot of sporting activities. They're building like a Universal Studios here, so there's a lot of action that brings people here. There's a college, all of that. So there's also the need for midterm rentals and things like that. So those might be at a higher price point, but it is still a good area to invest for that. What if you make a mistake? Well, the only way you're going to make a huge mistake is if you just go in blind and use emotions and you don't do your own research and you don't know how to do the research. You don't know how to do the due diligence. And so, whether you watch another video of mine or you, take a class somewhere, there is all kinds of ways for you to learn how to avoid mistakes. Now, what I say is I said avoid. Okay, I shouldn't have said that. What we teach is that, real estate is risky because, it involves money, right? And people and all that kind of stuff. But what we do is we teach people how to minimize the financial risk. And I'm not going to lie to you, I have actually made some mistakes, and I haven't made huge ones though. So huge ones is when you're losing $20, $30, $40, $50,000. So the most money that I've lost on any one deal is about $5,000. However, the thing and that's because I sold the property. If I had held on to it, I would not have lost any money. So a lot of times with real estate investing, if you hold the property, right? So maybe you thought you were going to flip it and then the market shifted and you hold it, you're going to realize all kinds of tax benefits that we don't even talk about. We talk a lot about cash flow and all that, but really where the bang for the buck is on the tax benefits that you are able to utilize on your tax returns, meaning it lowers your taxable income. And what if people tell me not to invest right now? Well, who are those people? Are they investors? Why are they telling you that? So you can't control rates or headlines, but you can control how you respond. That's where the real wealth begins, with confidence, clarity, and community. And that's what we really help our moms to gain, is that they get that confidence, they get that clarity and community. So the real lesson that I got from Realtor.com is that yes, markets do change, but investors adapt. We pivot when we need to. That opportunities shift, and so that means that your strategy evolves. Now, I always tell people when we talk about strategy, what I'm talking about is what kinds of things are you going to invest in? Are you going to just be a wholesaler? Are you going to invest in, what they call buy and hold, which is long-term rentals? Are you going to do short-term rentals? Are you going to do owner financing? Are you going to flip? So what we do is we walk you through that process of what each of those investment strategies take. And I actually have another video out there about the same exact thing, like the 5 strategies that we teach in our coaching program. I wanted to kind of identify them for you, and that's wholesaling, buy and hold, short-term rentals, owner financing, and flipping. And I go through like what each of those are, the pros and cons, and all of that. So sometimes you go, okay, I wanted to be a wholesaler, and I always say this to people: if you get a property at such a discount, right? Why wouldn't you keep it? So, and we talk about that because sometimes there's a place for wholesaling and sometimes it's better. You could make more money in the long run if you keep the property. So you don't need to chase hot states. You don't need to look for properties in Illinois or Iowa or Minnesota or wherever it is. You just have to understand your own backyard. What is going on in your community and in the surrounding areas. So I have a lot of success with properties with about an hour to an hour and a half outside the DFW area. And think about the DFW area. And if you just go 90 minutes out, there's a lot of little towns out there, and people still want to live in little towns. So you can have control, consistency, and community beat speculation every time. And I talked earlier about, speculation. That's like where you're guessing, you're hoping, that it's all going to work out. So we kind of Kelsey and I decided that we needed to kind of start putting more of this out there. So there's a next step, and we have an ebook, and it's called From Daycare to Deals: How Moms Turn $500 in Financial Freedom. And it's literally my daughter's story, how she got started. It's $17, and just think about that. Do you spend more than that in coffee and lattes in a week? So in the book, we talk about how to identify your first deal no matter what your market is, how to run numbers with confidence, how to find off-market properties in any market, and how to build generational wealth even in changing times. So we it was just so timely. That's why I wanted to do this video right away. Okay, so I'm going to leave you with this. I want to thank you for watching today, but you know what? Headlines don't build wealth. Your habits do. So here's what the ebook looks like, From Daycare to Deal, How Moms Turn $500 into Financial Freedom. You can get your copy today by just using the QR code there. So I hope you enjoyed this. I felt good about, just talking about the Realtor.com. I just felt so compelled to do this video because I just felt like, if I was a new mom or new investor reading that, I'd be like, oh, I'm glad I didn't invest, right? But really, when the interest rates are high, believe it or not, that's a really good time to invest in real estate. If you don't believe me, book a call with me and I'll tell you why. So, all right. Well, hey, watch the next video. Hit that subscribe button. Leave me some comments, the good, bad, and the ugly. And we'll see you all soon. Bye-bye.